Okay, good evening. My name is Rich LaCamera. This is the Capital Expenditure Committee meeting on Thursday, April 8th at 7 p.m. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 20, relating to the COVID-19 outbreak emergency, the April 8th, 2021 public meeting of the Capital Expenditure Committee should be physically closed to the public to avoid any group congregation. However, to view this meeting in progress, please go to facebook.com/LakeCAM. You do not need a Facebook account to view this meeting. This meeting will be recorded and available to be viewed at a later date at www.lakecam.tv/. Okay. All right. So let's see. Capital Expenditure Committee, we have Kevin Kelleher. We have Adam Lynch, who's representing the Finance Committee. Darlene Lee will be on very shortly. We have Frank Manise, who's the Highway Superintendent. We have Matt Perkins, who is the Chief of Police. We have Mike O'Brien, who is the Fire Chief. And we have Nate Dowland, who's the Director of Inspectional Services. So the first thing we need to do, this committee is normally run by the town administrator. Our new town administrator will be starting on May 17th. So what I need is somebody to make a motion, and I will gladly be the chair of this meeting for now. And then after that, we can address it in the future. So if somebody make a motion to make me the chair.
I make a motion to make Rich LaCamera chair of the meeting tonight.
Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Aye. Rich LaCamera, aye. Okay, so the Capital Expenditure Committee has not been active for a number of years. And last year we, and it's just so you know, the Capital Expenditure Committee is formed by town bylaw. And we're supposed to be reviewing the capital plan, a 5-year capital plan on a regular basis. And the goal of that committee is to be independent of everybody else. I mean, you got the 4 department heads tonight here to talk about, some of their plans and any questions that you may have. And the Capital Expenditure Committee is supposed to make a recommendation and on the plan and present it back to the Board of Selectmen. So the goal of tonight's meeting is to not go through all the 5-year capital plan, but basically go through fiscal 22, which is coming up based on July 1st, from July 1st this year through June 30th of 22. So we're going to be focusing on the first column, on the capital plan. The town accountant has issued new forms, which we instituted, this year to make it easier for the department heads to submit their capital items, and it's worked out pretty well. So, does anybody have any questions before I start going through the 5-year, the capital plan for fiscal 22?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So you can see that the capital plan is broken up into different categories, and the first one is the selectmen. The first thing that's being asked to be funded is $70,000 to do a feasibility study for the town hall and the fire station. In 2007, there was a feasibility study that was done that was completed and made recommendations as far as updating the fire station, the town hall, and the police station. And as you know, the selectmen at the time have decided that they were just going to build a police station, and we do now have a wonderful, beautiful new police station. So But we want to update that plan in order to determine, what may be done or what may need to be done in the future. And there's a number of things that that plan will do. First of all, look at the options as to whether the existing town hall fire station, could be renovated or expanded to deal with some of the space problems in the town hall and the expansion of the fire department. Number two is to take the existing building and make that the fire station and build a new town hall. And the third option is to build a new fire station and keep the town hall the way it is and renovate that. So in order to determine that, there's a lot of analysis that need to be done as to what the alternatives are and so forth. So that's the purpose of this study. And this study is pretty extensive, and it will come up with cost estimates and so forth and so on. So that's item number one. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah,
Rich, how do they come up with the 70,000? Is that based off of 27, the feasibility test done in 27, or is this based on bids that you received?
We haven't received any bids. We have to put it out to bid. That's a good question. It was based on the study that was done in 2007, as an estimate. It could come in lower than what's there, but that's basically what the basis is of that number. So we have to put an RFP out and have companies respond to that.
Sure.
Okay, Richard, Kevin. So you'll put bids out, and a number of companies might bid on just conducting this study, and the cost, it will be somewhere in the vicinity of 70 grand, right?
It could be less than that, yeah. But
Okay.
we wanted to make sure that we had enough money, because if you don't have enough money available and you go out to bid and you say, oh geez, then I gotta go back to town meeting, and that's the reason why.
Fair enough.
So yeah, we put a RFP out, and there'll be a number of companies that actually will respond to this.
Okay. And there's no way that the selectmen are leaning at this point. It's just decisions will be made, recommendations on what this study says.
We don't have any idea what we're considering doing, at this point. The old study said that we should have built a combination of a public safety building, which would have been police and fire, and take the existing town hall and renovate that space for just town hall. So that didn't happen. And now we have a whole different scenario, to look at different options, to come up with those options and try to recommendation. No matter what we do, this is not going to happen in a year's time. This is probably something, if it does happen, it's probably going to be somewhere between 3 and 5 years before something happens.
Okay. Good, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Darlene's on. All right. Okay. Hi, Darlene.
Hey, how are you? Sorry,
Good.
I'm late. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It happens. Okay, the next item on there is technology improvements. We're always making improvements to the technology and upgrading servers and equipment and stuff like that. So this is an ongoing request of $50,000 to address, some of those upgrades that need to be done as far as technology is concerned, which would also include software as well. So does anybody have any questions on that?
Just curious, it looks like the next 3 years are all 75, 100. Is there any reason why it's lower in FY22 than it is in the upcoming years?
The reasons why it's lower in 22, because we don't have significant number of needs to replace equipment. When we built the new police station, a lot of those servers and all the routers and everything, very expensive stuff, was upgraded during that process. And this is to take some of the old servers that need to be replaced, and some software that, a lot of the companies now are going to subscription, software versus it was one-time software. So we have to pay for some of those, upgrades as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay, next on the item is the facilities. We've doing our best to try to update some of these facilities on an ongoing basis. And one of those is the old library renovation project. As you know, that building was leased out. It was leased out since 2006, 2007, somewhere in that time frame. And the lease was only generating $1,000 a month. And that lease money was supposed to be used to try to improve the building, which has never been done. And so something brewing is gone out of business actually. And so the Board of Selectmen decided that we're going to use this, since we're so short of space, at the town hall, that this would be a good short-term solution to moving over the inspectional services and the Board of Health and the conservation agent, into that facility. In either case, whether we did that or not, this building needed serious improvements. And those improvements that are going to be done include all new air conditioning units, handicap ramp, which is probably the most expensive part, of this money. Handicap bathrooms. The bathroom, if you've ever been in there, is like a phone booth. And so we're putting in a new handicap, bathroom. Everything has been gutted, inside the building and thrown away, because a lot of stuff that was there didn't belong to the town. And so it was, we disposed of it. The floors are wooden floors, which is great. And they're going to be completely refinished. And then the downstairs part of it, there is some file space down there that's being utilized now. It's probably being half of the space down there. We expect to expand that space to put more files down there, because that's one of the major problems at Town Hall is file space area to put file cabinets in and restore old files. The other thing is that what's going to be done, if you're familiar with the building, if you look at the front steps, both sides of that front steps are all collapsing, and they'll be repaired. And then the goal is to also, as money is available, is to replace the windows, in the building. So Nate, is there anything else I left out on that, or?
You actually made it pretty easy for me, Rich. You went through just about everything.
Okay. So we have started some renovations with monies that we have available. If anybody wants to go take a look at it, we can arrange that for you. But we've already done all the painting, inside. We've removed all of the old air conditioning units and about to install the air conditioning units. The good news about the air conditioning units is that those are going to be reimbursed from the CARES Act, which is, what is that number? Probably about $25,000, Nate.
Yeah, it'll be right there, Rich, about 20,000.
So that will help with this project. But the important thing is that this building, nothing has been done in this building in years. And it's deteriorating. Oh, the other thing we're going to do is repoint all of the brick
Stone, yeah.
on the outside, because the water's leaking in, to the building. And so this building is going to be like night and day compared to what you've seen it before. It's just it's great, and it's great office space. It's 1,400 square feet up above, Nate.
Yep, Uh, 1,400 square feet on the main floor and in the same on the basement level.
So that's good space. The other thing that we have to do is, of course, we got to bring the technology over there to install, all the computers and so forth. So that's included in this cost. So that's what that project's all about. And anybody have any questions?
I do.
Sure.
I thought that there was a humidity problem with the basement. I'm worried about files in the basement. I thought that that was one of the issues before when Kathy was down there with the kids' books and stuff, that there was a real dampness problem in the basement.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
yeah, I can take that. Darlene, yeah, you're absolutely right. And we're already addressing that. Franklin has taken a lot of the big shrubbery around the base. It holds the moisture in. The roots are growing into those masonry joints that are compromised.
Yeah.
So we're sealing all the masonry joints, as Rich mentioned. That'll keep the water from infiltrating into those into that masonry work. Taking the plants around the base of the building will allow airflow and it'll dry it out quicker. And then we've already got 2 air dehumidifiers.
Dehumidifiers?
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay, great, good.
Excellent question, though.
Okay. I just remember that from years ago that there was just mold everywhere. So, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Adam and Kevin, you got any questions?
Rich, Kevin, potentially bringing a few offices from the town hall over there. Will that give you potential options of not having to make a move on the town hall?
We're gonna talk about that next. Okay. We're gonna
Okay.
talk about what we're gonna do with the fire station renovations,
Okay,
and that's gonna free up a bunch of space for us to use.
yeah, okay.
Good question, Adam.
I'm good with the library renovation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next thing is the fire station renovations. In that feasibility study that was done in 2007, there is and still is, significant space problems, in the fire station. And there's areas that need improvements, like bathrooms and what they call a day room area for the fire department. Other areas within that building, is a problem. So what the plan is to take the space where the Board of Health and the inspectional services is moving from the town hall to the old library. That space is going to be used for the fire department, and we're going to do this is really a short-term solution. It's not a long-term solution, but some of these problems have got to be addressed now. And in fairness to the fire department, once again, there's been no improvements, in the fire department for a long, long time. And so we want to try to do some upgrades. So basically, Chief, do you want to talk a little bit about the upgrades and what's being proposed? Mike?
How you doing? What we're doing is we're taking over the inspectional services portion of the building, which will allow us to not have a day room that serves as our dining room, day room, bunk room, and a meeting area. And so we take over that space. It's kind of a nice upgrade for our living space, and it'll also allow us to have bunk rooms that are closer to the fire apparatus, which will help us out with our response time getting out the door. Administratively, we'll be able to better organize our offices, and we'll be able to conduct, our business, and some of it is confidential business in privacy, and so we'll be able to run our operations a little bit better. It's not the fix all. It's we still have the same stalls and the same issues out in the bay, but it's a significant improvement. And it's a great stopgap until we come up with a better solution, whatever that solution might be.
And the chief did mention, but we're also there's a training room that's being updated. That is a problem today. We're redoing that. We're also redoing the kitchen that is used not only by the fire department, by town employees. So that's being upgraded. And one of the things that the chief, was just mentioning that, we're fortunate now that, we now have, how many female firefighters, chief?
We're actually up to 5. I apologize. We have a rollover I'm listening to with in trying to do this as well.
That's okay.
We have 5 females. We have 2 full-time female firefighters, and we have an additional 3 on-call firefighters, female on-call firefighters.
So what will be done in this renovation, we'll be building 3 bunk rooms, sleeping quarters, because for the firefighters, whether it's male or female, just so you know, because right now that's a problem. So anyway, so that's that. So to answer your question, Kevin, no matter what we do with this space in the future, if the fire department stays in the existing building, or we build a new fire station, none of these renovations would be wasted. So any renovation that's being done can be utilized in the future.
Good. Very good.
Adam?
Is this a quote that received that for the 100,000? And then the reason I asked is I remember seeing the renovation document in the budget when we had our budget meeting, and it seemed pretty extensive with all the rooms. Is this enough to cover that full renovation?
Nate, you want to answer that, please?
Yeah. To be honest, Adam, it's such a volatile bidding environment right now. It's hard to say. I believe it will. But one point that I'd like to make is, in the past when we bid, say you got a project that we figure should be around $30,000, we could range, between 30 and 60 on something that should be 30. It depends on who wants the job at any given time. Material cost is going to play a big factor, but I certainly think the $100,000 should get us there.
Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up to that, Adam, you're probably not aware of it, but we do have a carpenter, that does most of the work that works for the town. We also have a plumber. They're all part-time basis. They're not full-time people. And we also have an electrician as well, the same scenario. And we have a painter. So a lot of this work will be done. In fact, all the work that's already been done right now has been done with these people. So the cost is substantially less. But there's certain things that they aren't capable of doing that we have to go out to bid on. But more importantly, right now, I'm sure that you see that the materials cost is very expensive now, especially for lumber prices and so forth. So
yeah. Okay.
Rich, if I may, just to add on to what you just said there, utilizing a town carpenter, plumber, electrician, and painter, we do buy our own materials for that too. So we're saving a significant amount of money on markup of materials. We use town accounts. They're authorized to make purchases, and there's no markup on that. So just figured that would be important to note.
One of the things too is we have some firefighters who do contract work on the side, and they've already participated in the demo in the kitchen. So if there's anything that's kind of simple and not going to get them injured for their primary jobs, I'm happy to let them jump in and tear some stuff up and pull it out.
okay, so both of those projects, the old library and the fire station, are short term. Whatever that short term is yet to be determined based upon the feasibility study. So, but once again, anything that we do in both those facilities needed to be done anyways, and they're not going to be wasted no matter what we do. All right. Anybody got any other questions on that? Okay, good. Okay, the next area is security improvements to town buildings of $40,000. Most of that money is going to be used for security cameras, and I don't want to get too detailed about this, about what we're doing, but it's security cameras for the buildings. We need security cameras at the town hall, the library, the park commission, and COA. And other things that are going to be done is security systems for the buildings themselves, access security systems and so forth. So that's kind of what the overall plan, to do that. And just so everybody knows, in last year we budgeted $23,000, and for some reason nothing had been done with that money. So not only are we going to have the 40, but we're going to have the 23. But the good news about this too is that these security cameras will be available to be monitored if need be, at the new police station, which is important. Anybody got any questions on that one? Okay, the next thing is the police department. $100,000 is for 2 cruisers, and I guess I would ask the chief to explain, the process and the replacement of those cruisers, and maybe the number of cruisers we have and why we have so many. Chief Perkins.
Thank you. So as you see, I'm putting in $100,000. That's for 2 marked cruises for this year. I don't know if you want me to get into the whole 5-year plan, but if you see, I do 2 marked cars all the way out until the 5th year, where I request an additional 3rd car, which would be an unmarked. If you looked at our previous 5-year plans, you'll see that we were rotating 2 cars, 3 cars, 2 cars, 3 cars. I think we're at a point right now where the Ford Interceptor lasts a little longer than the Crown Victoria when we were using that. The year before I took over, I think we were at our highest point for cruises at 17. Currently, we're expecting delivery of an unmarked this month. That'll bring us up to a total of 14 total cars. We'll have 9 marked, 1 partially marked, which is prisoner transport, and 4 unmarked cars. I think right now, from like a standpoint, that's really not a lot of cars. It's sufficient. We, like, at our highest, we had 17 cars. Right now it's 14. And if you look at like area towns and stuff, it all depends on the size of the department and the number of the cars that they have. Middleborough, for instance, has 32 cars. They have 43 sworn officers. Freetown, which is very similar size to us, they have 18 sworn police officers and 14 marked and unmarked police cruisers. Carver has 17 marked and unmarked cars for 17 people. So you see they have 1 car per person. We don't have that. Our fleet is what we consider a shared fleet. So there are some cars that are out there for 16 hours a day with an 8-hour rest period. They get a lot of miles put on them. We try to rotate the cars that are in there just so we can get some longevity out of it and some life out of it. And I think the plan that we're on right now is the best plan to extend the life of the car, to get the biggest investment back to the town, where we can have a car for 5 years. The majority of our cars right now are 2017s. So the way we're going to rotate them is they'll be, if they start getting old or the mileage gets up, it'll become a spare or it'll be used for details. We try to use the newer cars for the patrol, only because it's the safest car that's out there. And my main priority is keeping the officers safe and having a good quality police car that they can respond to emergencies and have out there as a tool. So the formula that we use in determining what car is going to stay and what car is going to go, many factors go into it. The number of miles is not the only thing. We determine the total. We take the mileage, we take the condition of the car, we take the year of the car, and we also take the hours. Ford has a standard. They say for police car, what you want to determine is go by the engine hours, the idle hours that are on a car, and you multiply it by 33 miles. So for instance, one of the cars that would be traded in if we are approved for this capital project is currently, as of today, the highest mileage car we have is 143,000. That car has 12,438 engine hours. So Ford says that that car is equivalent to a car that has 410,000 miles on it. And that car right now, the condition of the car, it's getting to the point where it needs to go. It's no longer useful for us, and I don't want it to become a safety issue for the police officer or the public out there with, you know, things failing or things breaking down on the car. So that's how we determine what car is actually going to go. It's kind of like an evaluation process. But go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to point out, Chief, that I provided the Capital Expenditure Committee a list of all vehicles that the town owns, including all the police cruisers and the miles and so forth in the year, et cetera. So that's available for them as well.
Okay.
You have something else?
Chief,
Oops,
Chief, do you happen to know the average life of a cruiser?
So we're still exploring the life of the Ford Interceptor, and you have to understand the police work is changing right now. The Crown Victoria, we knew those cars inside out. 100,000 miles, you had to get rid of them. They were no good after that. With the Interceptor, we've seen that you can get a little more out of it. But then Ford changed the model. They changed the body design. So a lot of police departments were going to Dodge, which put a high demand on Dodge, which drove the price up on both Dodge and Ford. Because you couldn't recycle equipment like the cages, the light bars, the push bars, the radios. You had to get new things to fit inside the new cars. So we're in the process of, getting that thing so we can recycle it in the future to make those things fit. Now to answer you, what was your exact question so I can...
Do you know, is there an average life, like 3 to 5 years?
Right now, we're working off 2017, so you'll see a lot of the 2017s. The one that we're looking that's going to be getting traded in this year is one of the oldest 2017s. So it all depends on how many miles and hours are on that car, how we use it. Is it going to be a car that we're going to start with? Maybe it's going to break it in with one police officer, or do we put two police officers in it who drive a lot of miles? So that's a determining factor. So if you have that list, you'll see the majority of them are 2017s.
Chief, is that I've got the list? Is so you're going to replace vehicle number 165? Is that the one that you consider?
That
And 165, right? And you're going to bring 2 on and just take one off the road?
No, so when we get 2, I'm not looking to add to the fleet. So right now, my determination is 165 is definite. And the way we're going to do our evaluation coming up, because we still have a few months, if the determination, and it looks like it's going to be 162. So if you see that, the current mileage of 162 today was 117,000 miles with 372,000 equivalent miles with engine idle hours. So that one it looks like that's the one that's going to be traded with 165.
Chief, so you really don't feel you'll be able to get another year out of vehicle number 162?
No, so 162 currently is 117. So this is what I'm going to run into, what we've run into in the past. Like just last year, the cars that we traded last year was a 2013. It had 181,000 miles. It had no use as a patrol response vehicle. We had to find special uses for it. It had to go, all right, that was your court car. That's what's going to be officers are going to use to go to training. Things start to break down in it. So I don't want to have that where it's going to creep up. So that we're going to be looking at that car has 2 officers in it right now. And I think with averaging, I don't have the exact average of what they're doing per month, but there's going to be another 20,000 miles put on that car by the time we trade it in. And it wouldn't be, if we were approved on this capital project, we're not looking until the fall until trading it in. So that's a minimum 20,000 more miles on that.
Okay. One other question. The idle time on the vehicle, and I know there's a tremendous amount of idle time. How significant does that wear a vehicle compared to someone just doing patrol and using it and driving it?
Yeah, that's a good question that I exactly don't know how they come up. Ford is the one who says it's 33 miles on a police car. 1 engine hour is 33 miles on a police car. So that's how, so if the car's idling and not driving, it's equivalent to 33 miles.
33, okay.
Yep.
Very
And
good.
that's from Ford.
The other thing to point out is that the town used to take some of these cruisers and make them town cars, you know, if we needed them. And we can't do that anymore. And the reason why we can't do that is because we're considered a green community. And the police cruisers don't fall into that category as a fuel efficient vehicle that could be used by town vehicles. And that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So what he's doing now is he's trading in these vehicles because we can't use them as town vehicles anymore.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else got any other questions on the police cruisers? Okay, back to the fire chief, and the fire chief can talk about the ambulance and his other 2 requests.
Thank you very much. I'm requesting to add a 2021 F550 ambulance to the fleet, and it wouldn't necessarily replace an ambulance because I want to have a reserve ambulance in place for when one of my first or second run ambulances breaks down. And as it stands now, I'm mulling over a deal or a plan where I'd actually share that third ambulance, that reserve ambulance, with another fire department, share cost of maintenance and storage and things of that nature. So my overall plan is to have a 4-year rotation of my ambulances. A new ambulance would last in the first run position 4 years, and then rotate back to a second run, and then rotate to a reserve position. So I'd get 12 years out of an ambulance. Where our first run ambulances are doing just over 20,000 miles per year right now. And our call volumes going up on average about 10% a year. So that's trending upwards. So, you know, it would be very reasonable for us to be doing 25,000 miles per year on these ambulances. And as you know, it's not shocking that it's really important that these vehicles be reliable and be able to make the scenes. The outcome would be catastrophic if they didn't. As a side note, if you're looking at my existing fleet, you'll see a 2015 and a 16. That's not ideal. Usually you try and space out your purchases, and that's my plan going forward, to space them out over 4 years. And in that way, we don't, you know, as we're paying off one vehicle, you know, assuming that we borrow to pay for it, we're ready to make that next purchase, and we get into that rhythm of replacing the ambulances, which is ideal. So also that, you know, I'm also looking to replace some of our larger equipment items that are carried on the ambulances. The ambulances don't come equipped with stretchers and cots and stair chairs and things of that nature. And those are all big ticket items. They in themselves would be a capital item by definition. So rolling the cost of the associated equipment into the cost of an ambulance is kind of the nice way to do it. And I guess if you have any questions about this, that's pretty much what I'm trying to do.
Just so the committee knows that, as the chief pointed out, they're trying to rotate them every 4 or 5 years. And one ambulance that was purchased 4 years ago or 5 years ago, chief, I can't remember exactly what it was. That ambulance is being paid off. So we're going to be borrowing the money again to get these on a rotating basis. So you don't have to worry about a one-time expense. This is going to be a borrowing, and then after the 4th year or 5th year, you'd be buying another one. So as you can see, he's really not proposing another ambulance until 2026. So
We're sitting at about 100,000 miles with our oldest ambulance, which is the 2015. I was trying to stretch out a year or two, but we've just gotten so busy and we're racking up the miles. And this A1 is kind of being overburdened, overtaxed, and you can see that reflected in our repair cost for that vehicle. So, it's time to add a new ambulance to the fleet and put A1 back in a reserve status. And having an ambulance in a reserve status is pretty beneficial. We're borrowing an ambulance from Bridgewater. That ambulance has been used 5 times in the last 2 weeks to respond to calls. So the revenue generated from those 5 calls, we average just over $1,000 a call now in revenue. Will more than offset the cost of keeping an ambulance in service as a reserve piece. We don't owe any money on it, and if it's not being used that often, it's not going to cost that much to maintain. So it's well worth it. This instead of borrowing an ambulance from out of town, which isn't really sustainable, it's not really a good practice. We would bring forward our reserve ambulance, and that reserve ambulance, if it was in place this past week, it would have generated some significant revenue for us. So it's actually there's a revenue issue here at play.
Yeah, question, Chief. The second ambulance, is that the A2 one with 70,000 miles on it?
Yeah, that's our first run ambulance currently. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, anybody got any questions on that? You want to go on to the second item, Chief?
Sure.
Can I say one
Oh,
thing?
sure. Yep.
Just want to apologize for moving around. Okay, that's all. I'm apologizing. I'm walking now, walking into a house. Okay, I'm
problem.
gonna begin. Goodbye. Go, Mike. Go.
Thank you. The next item is a records management software. So what we have existing is it's a web-based product, and it's very bare bones, and there's not a lot of functionality to it. So usually what I'm used to is with a couple of mouse clicks and some filters, I can tease out a lot of data, a lot of useful information out of my records management software. And with this system, the current system, that's not really possible. And so we use a records management system for our EMS runs, and it does exactly what I want it to do. I can run queries and get all kinds of information about patients and our procedures, and I can learn a lot about our operations through it. Well, that vendor also provides a fire records management software, and it just so happens that vendor also provides a bridge to the existing police department's computer-aided dispatch software. So these are all, it's significant in that it'll save us a ton of time in report writing. So we'll have our turnaround times. Instead of spending time at the hospital doing reports, a lot of that information and data is going to be passively loaded into our reports, and so our turnaround times will be less. So we'll have ambulances in town more often and out of service less often. So it's this $10,000 is going to yield a lot of value in efficiency. It's going to mean that our firefighters are able to complete their reports quicker. Our data is going to be better. I'm going to be able to manage better because I'm going to be able to measure things. When I have a question, I can, within 5 minutes, I'll have an answer. When the Board of Selectmen have a question about, where our run frequency is, or where do we go the most, and what our response times are, it's a few mouse clicks. Right now, it's a half hour of sifting through nonsense to tease out a number or give an answer to those questions. So this might be my least expensive request, but it's definitely one I'm very excited about.
Chief, do you already know what software you're going to get?
Well, I know what software I want. It's basically, it's an existing vendor. It's who we're already using for one side of our house, the EMS side of our house. So I'd just like to expand their services and cross over to fire. And it's interoperable with the police computer-aided dispatch software. So it's kind of a no-brainer. It's just the value's there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, going on to the next one there, your inflatable boat there, Chief.
This inflatable boat. So I came from a fire department that was on an island, and I lived it was Portsmouth, and it was in the middle of the Narragansett Bay, and we had a 12-foot inflatable that we would use as a rapid response vehicle, and we saved quite a few lives with it because it's easy to deploy and it gets out there really, really fast. And the idea is to grab somebody before they go under. And so you prevent the recovery operation, which is never good. And looking around Lakeville, there's a ton of smaller bodies of water, smaller ponds. that we don't currently have a capability to intervene and make a rescue in. So just across the street from the fire station, if we had a person in distress just out of reach from the shore, we would have to find a boat ramp somewhere, launch our whaler, and then navigate back to just in front of the station to rescue that person. With an inflatable the size that I'm proposing, it would be small enough for us to pick it up and carry it across the street and throw it in the water and go. They're extremely stable platforms. When I had one in Portsmouth, one of the first things I did was I waited for a small craft advisory to come up and took it out and had the guys train in the worst conditions I could find, just so to prove to them it wasn't going to capsize, it could get through it, and so they'd have confidence in the vessel. And this is just about filling the gap in the mission that we have here, which in the gap here is those quick shore rescues and those small pond rescues. We don't currently have a boat that can accomplish those tasks.
Questions for the chief? Okay, good. Okay, next is the highway department.
Thank you.
Frank, you want to talk about your request, please? Mike, Chief O'Brien,
Yes, sir.
if you have a call and you have to go, I mean, that's fine. So, because we're pretty much done with you anyways.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You can stay, but that's up to you. I know you're working on a call there.
Yeah, it was a rollover. They're fine. Everybody's good.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Frank, sorry.
All right. For this year, we got, I typically always put in 375,000 for roadway improvements. Obviously, Chapter 90 doesn't cover the type of improvements we need. This year, I'm lucky enough where I got at least 150,000 put on the capital plan. Just to put into perspective, 150,000 would do about 1 mile of a conventional fix on a road.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the areas that, as Frank says, the town needs to put more money in this area. And we do get $400,000. It was about 400,000, if I remember the number correctly, Frank, from the state to do road improvements, and that isn't going to do it, based upon what needs to be done. And I don't know if you've noticed, but this past year, Frank has done significant improvements to a number of roads, major roads, which includes Precinct Street and Highland Road and Freetown Street and Vaughan Street, and there's a few others. So we're trying to get things done, and there's a lot more to be done. And as you probably know, Route 79, which has already been funded, this was nothing to do with this funding. That's about a $12 million project, and the state is picking up 10 million of that. So coincidentally, Frank and I were on a call today about the project and where we are and where that's going to be. So that construction's going to start in the spring of 2023. I wish it was sooner because the road is deteriorating rapidly. Anyways, so the other thing that we actually talked about was potentially borrowing money to do some of these improvements, because we all know that everybody talks about inflation, and oil prices, for the past few years has been pretty low. But I think everybody's expectation is that the prices are going to go up, which means that every road that we do is going to cost more money. Anybody got any questions on that piece? Okay. Next one, Frank.
259D skid steer for 95,000. This would come with a cold planer for asphalt grinding, which is basically what we'd use to do patching in town. We already have the hot box and the capability of getting hot mix on site. We just don't have anything to grind it down. We're doing it the old traditional way now with jackhammers and ripping it up with with the backhoe, which isn't ideal. You're ripping more than you need to. It would also come with a brush cutter, which we could use for many different reasons. One is we have a pretty extensive trail system through a couple different parks. It could be used in there. It could be used in our detention pond areas where we can't get any of our heavy equipment in. And now that we have the parks under our jurisdiction of maintaining, it would definitely come in handy with a lot of areas on that. Obviously comes with a 72-inch bucket. It's just a skid steer piece of equipment where I'm surprised that the town didn't have it already. It gives you a lot of flexibility to get into a lot of areas and do a lot of different types of work that you can't get our traditional backhoes and loaders in, or our bigger flail mowers in.
Any questions on that one, Adam?
What's the life of one of these skid steers?
Well maintained, I would say, could be as long as 10, 15 years if it's well maintained. For our use anyway. I mean, if it was a big construction outfit, obviously that changes. But this wouldn't be an everyday piece of equipment. This would be specialty for a lot of specialty projects and patching in the summer. Winter, we could use it for snow removal when needed. So it really depends on the usage over the time.
Okay, because my second question was going to be, is it going to be a year-round machine? But you answered that question, so I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, next one, Frank.
The Z-Track 799, it's a diesel Z-Track for 22K, 22,000. This is just a bigger Z-Track machine. We typically try to replace Z-Track machines, once every couple of years. They do get a lot of use. Basically, once the grass pops, they don't stop till fall. This has a 6-foot deck, so it's going to be the equivalent of the one we just purchased specifically for the parks, to be used by Ryan in the parks. And there's going to be something we're going to assist with the parks with this, but it's also something we can bring out to Betty's Neck. Do a lot of our bigger open space areas with. It's more so it's basically a 6-foot deck compared to our typical 4-foot decks. So I'm basically just upgrading to a 6-foot deck.
Are you going to eliminate any of the Z-Tracks that you have in inventory now, or is this going to be just in addition to the inventory you have?
No, this is going to be an addition because we have additional employees now. We're going to have 2 full-time guys in the parks. So he'll be utilizing it there. And then also we have our summer help. We hired another full-time guy last year for the DPW. So it's just for now, it's going to be an additional piece of equipment.
Okay.
Okay. Last item.
The bud permit material. This is just years and years of stockpiling the catch basin cleanings and sweepings in the back of our property, which isn't the right way of doing things. And it was done for, I'd say, 20, 30 years probably. So now we have a mountain of material that's in the back of our shop that's deemed hazardous material because it has a lot of asphalt particles and metals and things like that from being swept off the asphalt with the sweeper, and obviously clean out the catch basins and all the garbage and whatever have been in there. So we did a bud permit to get rid of the material. I have some remaining money in the old bud permit capital item, which is maybe 15 grand at this point. We're looking at using that up as soon as Maryland Landing takes our bud permit approval, which is still going through DEP right now. And we haven't got the approval yet, but this is just going to be one $25,000 request. I'm guessing for the next 3 years the next 2 years, I'll be asking probably for the same amount of money to continue to get rid of this material.
So today, the highway department no longer stores any of this material on the property. So it's taken off site right away, so it doesn't get stored there. So it's no longer a problem. So okay, anybody got any questions on that one? Okay, the park department as you know, the town made a huge commitment last year of $185,000 to the parks, which include, you know, most of it was used for the parking lots, the soccer field parking lot, and was used for the parking lot near the maintenance building and so forth. And you know, since Frank has taken over, you know, all the maintenance of all the parks, besides the highway department, you know, there's been significant improvements in updating some of those infrastructures, you know, some of those facilities, and there's a lot more to be done, to be honest with you. But so we're trying to get a plan together from the Park Commission for every single facility to outline, you know, things that need to be done and things to be improved on. We certainly can't do everything all at once, but we're going to chip away at it, you know, over the next few years. One of the things that, and they talk about the haunted house, and basically that was a building that was used by the Haunted House Committee for years. And that building is completely deteriorated and needs to be demoed. Nate, did you want to talk about that piece, please?
Sure. So I had met Joe Kosher out there. I've been dealing with the haunted house for numerous years. It's fallen into a point of disrepair that it just doesn't make any sense at all to put money in to fix it. So the $50,000 number again is what we believe it will be, but that includes asbestos survey, asbestos abatement, and then the demolition of both normal construction debris and then you know, masonry foundation. We were going to go on after that was done, make sure we take all of the underground electrical out and, you know, nails in trees and in trees that have been compromised over the years, partially broken, clean the whole site up and get it ready for a possible future use.
Okay, anybody got any questions on that one? No, okay. Okay, you know, as I said, we're trying to make some repairs and some improvements, and what's being proposed here is to repair the tennis courts and paint the tennis courts, and that's $28,000, you know, to do that. Anybody got any questions on the park? Okay. The last item on here is Historical Commission, Archaeological Survey and Preservation Plan. One of the opportunities that the town is missing on is that grant money that potentially could be available for federal and state. And in order to get some of those grants, you have to have these studies done. And it's $30,000, you know, to do this study. And I know the Historical Commission has been trying to get this done for a long, long time. So that's what that's all about. So anyways, the bottom line is that, you know, this fiscal 22 year, we're going to be spending $1.2 million in capital improvements, which is significant. But we're able to fund that. So that's a good thing. So this will be on the town meeting on May 10th. So does anybody else have any other questions on the proposed plan?
I do. I guess my only question is, what did we spend last year on capital improvements?
Oh, geez, off the top of my head, Darlene, I want to say it was about $700,000, you know, somewhere in there.
It's going up quite a bit. Okay.
Yeah, we're making a huge commitment to try to improve, you know, some of the facilities and the infrastructure.
Oh, yeah, I'm not disputing it. I just want to be able to defend it. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I like everything you've talked about, you know? I don't have a problem with it.
So as you can see in fiscal 23, we're talking about another million. This is about $1 million, you know, going forward, and hopefully.
I mean, like the trend, you know?
Yep, some of these things have been ignored and they need to be
Neglected. I mean,
addressed.
look at the library, just talking about the library alone, look at that building's been neglected so badly, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, the only thing I think that, I think, go back to the library for a second, I think that some of the townspeople are the older people that are gonna remember, one of the reasons we built a library, one of many, was because we couldn't put a handicap ramp on that building, and that was a big to-do with a lot of people. So I don't know where that's gonna empty out or what kind of ramp, how much of a pitch, I mean, I don't really know too much about it. But I think that that's gonna be discussed by people when we talk about a ramp there.
Nate, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I can touch on that quick. Darlene, that you're absolutely right. It's about 5 feet of elevation change from the top of that steps down to the landing. A building code requirement, architectural access board is 1 inch per foot run. So it's pretty simple math. 60 inches, it's a 60-foot ramp. The code also says that you can't go more than 30 feet at a time. So what we're proposing currently is that you would come out of the left-hand side of the doorway, and there would be a landing platform, 30 feet of ramp towards Bedford Street onto another landing, 30 feet right back to be in the same exact location that an able-bodied person would come down the stairs to meet. And that's the big thing, and I know Rich supports it as well, is that a lot of these buildings in the past, they weren't accessible. We've done as best we could to make accommodations on the high frequency use offices in the town hall, getting everything on the first floor, and we'll make sure that this building's accessible. It might not happen overnight. It is going to be a large cost, but the bathroom's going to go in right away, and then we're going to work and get this ramp done.
Well, it's gotta happen. Is it gonna look a little bit like the ramp next door? Am I like in the right wavelength there with the bend?
Well,
turn?
so we're gonna price it out 2 different ways. Being a white building, the historic townhouse, we did go with the straight aluminum. If we
Yeah.
were to use aluminum at the historic library, we'd want to use a black powder coat
Yeah.
and make it a little bit more period correct. The straight
Sure.
aluminum blended in with the white building, but the straight aluminum wouldn't blend in with the historic library.
Yeah.
The other option we were going to price out is a standard pressure treated deck, with covering. So you can make a pressure treated deck and use black PVC over the 4x4 posts and black railings, and probably make it look really nice.
Yeah.
Again, like Rich mentioned before, right now lumber cost is double. So
Sure.
what might have been 40 all of a sudden turns into 80.
Yeah.
The aluminum, we haven't seen quite as big of a jump as we have with the lumber.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, anybody else got any other questions on the plan?
Yeah, Rich, just a quick question. So with the amount that you budgeted for capital expenditures, you're still going to be able to make the overall budget for this coming year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yes,
Okay, very good.
definitely, yep.
I agree with Darlene. All of the different people representing the departments have done a great job in presenting this, and I think you've got a good capital expenditure budget decisions. They look very good.
Thank
I
you.
agree. I agree.
Okay, so based on that, I'll entertain a motion from the Capital Expenditure Committee to approve the capital plan for a total of $1,240,000.
Yay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, please state your name for the record. Sorry,
Aye, Adam Lynch.
thank you,
Aye, Darlene Donnelly, Lee.
thank you.
And I, Kevin Kelleher.
Rich LaCamera, aye. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank
We
Sorry,
appreciate
I'm
it.
sorry I was late.
That's okay. Thank you. This is great. Okay,
Thank you.
good night,
night.
everybody.